Hello, right, 20 frequently asked questions. If you're new to my channel and you're going to ask a question on one of my 4 Friday Q&As, please check out these questions first. I will list all of the questions before going on to answer them, so if your question was one of these, you don't need to ask it because I've answered them a billion times before. Anyway, question 1, why do you play so badly? Question 2, how/when did you get into gaming? 3. How/when did you start collecting? 4. How many systems do you own? 5. Are there any systems you don't own? 6. What is your favourite system/game? 7. Why do you dislike the NES/Master System? 8. What is your favourite genre? 9. What is your favourite RPG? 10. Your house is on fire. What do you rescue? 11. Why don't you do PC gaming? 12. What does your wife think of your hobby? 13. What is your favourite YouTube channel? 14. What advice would you give to someone planning to start a YouTube channel? 15. Worst game or system? 16. What do you think of emulation? 17. Favourite game format, as in storage format? 18. Do you have any other hobbies, interests or collections? 19. Favourite film, TV show, book or song? 20. What are your politics? There should, if I've done it right, be an annotation to go with each of those questions, so you can click that and it will take you through to the section of the video where the answer is. Or at the very least, there will be some text there telling you the time in the video that the answer is at, and info down there as well, if all goes well. So, if the question you was going to ask was one of those, don't ask it, just watch the answer in this video. Yeah, okay then, question 1. Why do you play so badly? I get asked this one a lot, and I have to be honest, it irks me. It bugs me greatly, because I actually can play. I can play quite well. I play badly in the videos because 9 times out of 10, I either haven't ever played the game before, or if I have, it was 30 odd years ago. I just pick it up and I play it. I don't practice before I make the videos, because the whole point is capturing that first time you ever played it thing. Also, I do the commentary live. So where you hear me talking, I am playing the game as I talk. And you try and play a game and talk at the same time, and give any kind of meaningful commentary. It's not easy to do at all. You will play badly. So that's why, and that, you know, there will be those who say, well, why don't you do the gameplay separate from the commentary, and why don't you practice, and why don't you read the instructions? Well, no, that's not what I do. It is a choice to do it this way. It's not because I don't know how to do it, it's not because I'm crap, it's because this is how I choose to do it. 2. How or when did you get into gaming? I got into gaming when I was about 4. It was 1972. Yes, I am that old. And it was electromechanical games. The game that forever comes to mind is Sega Missile. Look it up on YouTube, there's video footage of it. Electromechanical stuff in the sports club, working men's club, whatever, in New Bradwell, Milton Keynes. Arcades, like at the Isle of Wight, and amusements in the local fair at Toaster. I played those, and then when Pong came out a few years later, I played that and was just so blown away by it. And everything that came out after, I just had to have a go. I mean, it was arcades initially, but then you know, home systems, Pong systems arrived in the home, and I got a Binatone Mark 10. Quite late to the game, really, with the home systems. We didn't have a lot of money, but yeah, that's how I started, and I mean, I was hooked from the very first time I played an electromechanical. I knew this is what I want to do. This is fantastic. I want more of this, and I never stopped. How stroke when did you start collecting? Well, I didn't. Here's the thing. I have systems that I bought in the day when they were current, or well, they were kind of coming to the end of their lifespans. The Atari 600 XL and Acorn Electron. They were a little bit past it when I got hold of them. Hence, I got them cheap. And then later the Amiga, and I simply didn't get rid of them. I kept them, and that in itself sort of built up a little bit of a collection. And then a few years later I started realizing, hold on, all of these game systems that I remember from when I was a kid, and there were lots, like my friends had various computers that I got to have a go with and know what they were like. And then this lad who was in school and used to bring the computer magazines in, he would sit there and read the specs and information and stuff about all these computers, things that I'd never seen, but I remembered the names. Things like the Color Genie and the Video Genie and the Commodore PET and stuff like that. I remembered the names, and they started turning up at car boot sales. And it was probably about 1997 that I started going to car boot sales and buying these things that I'd heard of, because they were cheap now, and I got quite a few of them. And you know, years later I developed just enough trust in eBay to start buying stuff on there, and Game Station, the video games chain store, for a while they sold retro stuff for a short while, and I bought stuff from them as well. Yeah, that's kind of how it happened. Not exactly by accident. I kept a load of stuff, and then I started deliberately buying the stuff that I remembered. 4. How many systems do you own? Well, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because how do you define, like, you've got your Mega CD, your 32X and your Mega Drive, which the Mega CD and the 32X require the Mega Drive, so are they systems in their own right? And then you've got like Mark 1s and 2s and 3s and whatever of, say, the same system. Looking at it that way, I couldn't tell you, but if I were to count, and I have, every single item of hardware, not including peripherals, but you know, 129. Yeah, 129. We'll say systems. We'll count something like the 32X or Mega CD as a system. We'll count the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 as separate ones. You know, I have the object on the shelf, 129. Are there any 5. Are there any systems you don't own? Yeah, loads. Absolutely tons. Mostly computers, but some consoles. I don't have the Apple Bandai Pippin. I don't have, I mean, handhelds like the Game King, the Game Mate and the Game Duck. Haven't got them. And then all the really cheap and crappy things that you likely to see on Ashens, like the Pop Station, and I mean, I've got a couple of really crappy things up there. PXP, bleh. Yeah, computers, tons and tons of computers I don't have. Apple II, or umpteen models of the Apple II. Computers, Lynx, Spectra Video, 318328, stuff like that. There are oodles of them. Acorn Atom. Yeah, there are lots. There are more computers that I don't have than that I do. More than I can list here. There are probably more out there that you just don't even know exist, and probably some that I don't know exist, especially in Australia, curiously. What is your favourite system stroke game? Yeah, I really struggle with this. Time was I would have said Amiga, but I've sort of moved on from there because I have played games that are just better than they were back then. But I mean, that is the nature of retro. I really struggle to answer, and my answer would be different from day to day. The most recent answer I gave was Mega Drive with Mega CD, 32X and EverDrive all plugged in, because you got 4 systems in one, and each of those systems has some brilliant games on. So I will go with that, but it's not a safe answer because it will forever be changing. Why do you dislike the NES stroke Master System? That's question 7. Because back in the day when they were a current thing, they were, to a person of my age at that time, an irrelevance. There's the thing, and I've said this many times before, and I'll probably say it again. In America, the NES saved gaming, without a doubt. Consoles had gone down the pan, and computer gaming was not... Computers were sold differently from consoles. They were a hobbyist's thing, and they were sold in hobbyist shops, computer shops. They were a serious thing, and the fact that they played games was not their sole reason for existing, and they weren't pushed in that way or marketed in that way. Where in the UK, they were mainstream. They were sold in mainstream stores. They were sold in W.H. Smith's and Boots, places you would see them, and you would see them playing games, and so they sold well, and the number of games available was... There were masses of games, and they were really, really cheap, and the games were good. So then here was this, all of a sudden, console that was cheap, but the games on it were £30 at least, and all it did was play games, where the computers, they cost a bit more, but the games were cheaper, and they could do a lot more than play games. To my mind, that made the consoles stupid and a big step backwards. And that has stuck with me. I totally get that they played an important role in gaming, certainly in America, more than here. There are people in the UK and I guess Europe for whom they were an important thing, but they will have been kids at that time. If you were an 8 or 10 or 12 or 14-year-old and you were presented in 1987-ish in the UK with a NES or a Master System, you would have thought, great. But if you were 20-something and had already gone through the whole 8-bit gaming experience, you would have just looked at it and thought, well, that's no better than a ColecoVision, and they fizzled out years ago. Especially if the first thing you saw on it was Donkey Kong. It was like, been there, seen that, done that, moving on. They were ridiculous, and it's hard to shake off that feeling. I mean, I have a NES and a Master System, and yeah, the games on them are absolutely better than the games that were available on the 8-bit computers at the time. But the idea was silly, and I mean, the Amiga was out over here at that time anyway, and it was like, if you were going to move on from an 8-bit computer, the only sensible move was to go onto a 16-bit computer. Consoles made no sense to me at all. So that's why I have the attitude. Some will disagree, and that's fine. What is your favourite genre? Racing games. Absolutely racing games. But I mean, I could just narrow it down to Gran Turismo, really. Racing simulations, I think I should probably say, because there are some others that kind of... I like realistic physics. I like them not to have time limits crammed in there as part of the game mechanic, unless it's in like an option or mode or something, but the main game needs to be pretty simulation-y, I think, without cutscenes and storylines and stuff. Yeah, arcade racers, not so much. What is your favourite RPG? This is question number 9. I get asked this quite a lot, and I don't know why, because you very, very, very rarely see an RPG on my channel, like, probably none. I don't like RPGs, and as for JRPGs, none, never, don't like them, never. Alright, no, have I played any? Yes, I have. I've played some Japanese ones, like on the Master System, and that. I'm like, I just don't get it. And the same goes for Pokemon games as well. So RPGs that I actually like, well, the Elder Scrolls games, yeah, particularly Skyrim, but I liked Oblivion as well, up to a point, and it was up until the point that it all becomes repetitive, and you're just thinking, oh, well, I've done this before, you know, it's find this, kill this, take this to this person, rinse and repeat. Then it gets tedious. So I don't ever finish any of them because... Yeah. Okay, question 10. Your house is on fire. What do you rescue? Okay, taking out people, pets, things like that out of the equation. The first thing actually that I would rescue is my little black book. Because it has all of my passwords and logins and stuff like that on it, because I do use different passwords for all of my logins, and I can't remember them all, and I don't use any software to remind me because I might have to log in from a different computer and blah. So it is all written down, and I would rescue my book. But we're probably talking like gaming hardware. What would I rescue? Tesco Huddle, actually. I would rescue my Huddle because, well, internet access and gaming and all of the important stuff that I need to do, I can do from that. Keep all of my accounts and things alive and stuff, and access, you know, it, and game. I can game on it as well. Yeah, Tesco Huddle. But if you want to say what piece of retro kit would I rescue, if we're going to be that specific, well, it would have to be my Amiga 1200 Tower, I think, because it's probably the most valuable piece of kit in my collection. It's also the piece of kit that I have been most involved with. Well, like, I made it. Alright, I didn't engineer it, I bought all the bits and put them together, but, you know, it's my baby. I made it into the thing that it is. I spent a heck of a lot of money on it. Yeah, so that would be that. That answer varies every time I'm asked, as do many of these. Why don't you do PC games? There are a couple of reasons here. This is question 11. One is that my PC is not powerful enough. The CPU is alright, it's like a dual core, what is it, one of those i5 things, something like that. I don't understand how it all works, but anyway. But the graphics card is just integrated graphics and they're crap. And why don't I just stick a graphics card in it? Because money. Excuse me. And to stick a graphics card in it, I need to upgrade the power supply. You see, I have no qualms about opening it up and sticking in a graphics card. I can do that, but power supplies, I don't know. I tried changing the power supply in an old PC and I did something wrong, obviously, because it just didn't work. I turned the thing on and nothing happened, so I'm not in a hurry to try and do that. And even if I did all of that, storage on this thing is full. It's chock-a-block. My hard drive is nearly full, my external hard drive is nearly full. Yeah, for me to do PC games, I would need a new PC, and I ain't got the money. But more than that, also I don't PC game, because to me a PC is a tool. It is a piece of hardware that is there for me to do practical things with. Practical. I make videos with it. I do internet-y stuff with it. I used it for word processing and serious stuff. It's a tool, like an electric drill. And I really don't want to do gaming on something like that. To me, I want to do gaming on something that is made for gaming. And I want to keep it completely separate from all of this serious stuff. It's not necessarily a logical answer, but it's just the way I compartmentalise things, aspects of my life, things that I do, and I compartmentalise serious stuff from gaming, and I want to keep them separate. Question 12. What does your wife think of your hobby? She is supportive. She, you know, she's bought me bits of hardware and games and continues to do that. I mean, she'll be looking frequently on Hot UK deals, because that's kind of part of her hobby. She finds bargains as a hobby, and she's on Hot UK deals a lot, and frequently she'll find someone selling a system or some games or whatever, and she'll say to me, do you want any of these? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, cool, and sometimes, nah, and she'll just buy them for me. Obviously not if they're massively expensive or anything, but you know, very, very supportive. Does she actually understand it? Well, she games a bit herself on Facebook type games. So, you know, there is this farm thing. Not Farmville, it's something else. Some sort of futuristic farm thing that I don't know what it is. And other, I don't know about Candy Crush. She played that for a bit and then moved on because it just got... it was obviously designed to try and make you spend money, and that I guess it kind of put her off, or she reached a point where you just couldn't get any further without spending money, so she moved on to something else. Words with Friends, that's a favourite. So she games, but I wouldn't say she necessarily understands what all of this is to me, why I like it, why it's important to me, but it doesn't matter. The fact is, she knows it's important to me, even if she doesn't necessarily appreciate why. And that's good enough, you know. I can spend time on it. I limit the time that I spend doing it because, well, that's the responsible thing to do. If you're a married person, you need to spend time with your other half, and not all of it doing this, which it would be easy to do, but, you know, yeah. Moving on. Where's the next question? Oh, there it is. All right, 13. What is your favourite YouTube channel? Classic Game Room, Intercom Company, Lord Carnage, call it what you like. Because his sense of humour and his taste in games, to me, his sense of humour appeals to me. I don't know if it would appear similar to anyone else, seeing my sense of humour, if they would think, that's similar. I don't know, but from my perspective, I get his sense of humour. It works for me, and I find him very funny. And his taste in games is very similar to my own. You won't necessarily see that because he'd got more modern stuff and whatever, but when I'm watching him and the games that he says are good, I'm watching and thinking, yeah, that does look good. Or, you know, he'll quite often play ones that I think are crap, and he'll say, yeah, this is crap, and I'm thinking, yeah, it is. So it's kind of... I'm not going to compare myself to him because he has a fantastic channel where I have a OK channel, but it's not in the same league by any means. But I see myself as a like-minded person where taste and sense of humour and general maybe attitude is concerned. I don't know about his attitude on some things, but certainly what I see, I can relate to it. 14. What advice would you give to someone starting a YouTube channel? Yeah. First thing is, do your own thing. Which might be something you've seen other people doing already. But don't sit there asking your audience, okay, what would you like me to do? I mean, I did it just recently, and this video is a result of it, because sometimes there is a specific there is a specific question where you need to know what your audience thinks, and this F.A.Q is a result of that. But in terms of your general content, you've got to have the idea yourself of what it is you want to do. It's not for your audience to tell you what direction your channel should take, what kind of videos you should make. You've already got to have that idea, and if you haven't already got that idea, stop right there and don't even start, because you'll be wasting your time. If you're just doing what other people tell you to do, you will very quickly get sick of it and you will stop. And later on you might try again, but by then people will have been like, don't waste your time with that person because they don't stick at it, and why subscribe to someone who's just going to quit after a while? You've got to stick at it, and if you're going to stick at it, you've got to believe in it. It's got to come from you. Other advice, don't do it for the money. Yeah, I know you can make ads, but the chances of you being successful enough to make significant money from it are very, very, very low. I've been doing this a long time. I make a little bit of money from it. I find myself frustrated that I have not got more viewers, but that's just how it is. And if I'm frustrated, I am doing better than probably 99% of other channels that I follow. And, you know, people that I know, I consider myself lucky to be doing as well as I am doing. I have followed over the years many, many, many channels, and of all of those, I would say only 3 of them have made enough money out of it to do it professionally. Who am I talking about? Lazy Game Clint, you know, freaking D. Rich, Review Tech USA, and Michelle Minx, RPG Minx, Manga Minx. Those are the only three. Of the many, you know, there are others who are doing all right, but those are the only three I've known who do it professionally, and that's out of thousands of channels that I've watched. So if you're thinking about doing it for a living, forget it. Just don't, because it's not gonna happen. Do it for the love of it. Do it because it's in you. You've got something to say. Final piece of advice I would give is trolls. Do not respond to them in any way whatsoever. If they troll you, delete their comment, block them. Block them from YouTube, block them from Google+, and move on. They will infuriate you, they will piss you off greatly, they will do everything they possibly can to make you respond, because if you respond, they win. And they will continue, and they will keep on doing it. Any response, it doesn't matter if it's just a quick, yeah, fuck you, and then block them. They'll come back, and they'll keep coming back. Give them nothing. I learned the hard way. I still have to deal with it because I responded in the past. But that is the only, you know, it's aggravating because you want to respond. You want to give them a piece of your mind and tell them how wrong they are. Don't. It's a waste of your time. You're just giving them what they want, which is your attention. Yeah, that's that. That's probably, I mean, there are countless pieces of advice I could give regarding making a YouTube channel, but those are the most important ones. 15. Worst game or worst game system. Right, worst game, that is actually quite easy. Maze Eater on the VIC-20. It is my sympathies for the person whoever it was who programmed it, because they were probably a 14-year-old boy who were maybe given £10 or something to contribute their game to. It's on one of those Cascade 50 cassettes, compilations that are notoriously rubbish. They exploited 14-year-old boys basically. Churned out 50 really shit games on a cassette. Maze Eater on the VIC-20 is the worst that I have played. There are probably worse ones than that. It was like a Pac-Man clone, but it obviously ran so slow that it was described as a strategy maze game, because you're sitting there pressing the button waiting for your Pac-Man character to move, and you have time to think about which way am I going to go to avoid the following ghost that will maybe move in a couple of seconds. Terrible. Worst system? Yeah, well, I haven't ever played an R-Zone because I don't consider that a proper games console. That is like in the same kind of vein as a Game & Watch. It's predefined graphics rather than proper graphics, so I don't count them. So it has to be the Gamecom. You will have heard about how bad they are. They are that bad. They were a fantastic concept. The Nintendo DS would appear to have been based on the concept of the Gamecom, but done properly. Yeah, great ideas. PDF type features, the touch screen, great. The twin cartridge slots, great. There was much about it that were really good ideas, and the whole thing was ruined by a crappy screen that blurs so much when anything moves that it renders almost every game on it unplayable. Yeah, if they'd put a decent screen on it, it would have been a viable thing, and it would have been quite impressive, or at least the ideas were sound. It's just the execution was appalling. 16. What do you think of emulation? I think it has its place. I will on occasion use emulation, in particular for arcade games. I have emulators on my Android tablet and on my Android phone, because you can carry those games around with you, which is great. And sometimes there is no other way of playing a game. I can't have a Star Wars arcade cabinet in my games room or any other room in this house. I can't afford it, and so emulation is the only solution. And then there will be people for whom just having the hardware is not practical or affordable. I would personally always rather use the original hardware. Most 99% of the time. Alright, I can't have the original hardware when I'm out and I might want to play a quick game, so having it on an emulator on my phone, great. But you know, if I'm at home, I would rather have the original hardware, absolutely. But you know, I totally accept that for some people that's not either possible or practical. So emulators have their place, and that's the thing. Are you a collector or are you a gamer? If you're a collector, yeah, the real thing is preferable. But if you're a gamer, it really doesn't matter. If it's a good game, it doesn't matter what you're playing it on. If you enjoy it, play it, and who cares what it's on. It's got its place. I certainly don't turn my nose up at it. I do kind of turn my nose up a little bit if you will get some people who will see, oh I don't know, say, oh I've got this Amiga, and they say, oh yes, I've got an emulator of that, like I'm meant to be impressed. No. That having an emulator is not an impressive thing in itself, where having a rare piece of hardware impresses me. But the ability to play the game, that's cool. If you like the games, great. Just don't hold up emulators as impressive bits of kit in their own right, because they're not. Anyone can have them. Some of them are kind of hard to get running, but that's a different thing. What's my favourite game storage format? That's question 17. Cartridges. My least favourite format turns out to be floppy disks, because I have found them to be the least reliable, the least stable. CDs, mostly CDs are pretty good, but I found a lot of my old Amiga CDs that were cover discs are all completely useless. They just, I don't know, they got like rot, they just degraded somehow. But I've only really experienced that with my Amiga ones. I don't know why. Floppy disks, well, my Amiga floppy disks are not, they are unreliable, and it's because of the format that they were done in. They wrote right out to the edge of the disk, and they're just prone to corrupting, where other formats aren't necessarily quite as bad, but they do degrade. I mean, you would think tapes would be worse. They're older, they're much older, but I have found my old 8-bit games on tape to be, they load far more reliably than Amiga discs. Surprised me, but there it is. But cartridges, always, you know, the worst you're going to have to do with a cartridge is clean the contacts. Cotton bud and a bit of window cleaner, that's what I use, and it works brilliantly. Clear window cleaner, not the pink Windoline stuff, but clear stuff with vinegar in it. Wipe it with that, with a cotton bud, Q-tip if you're American. And unless it's been treated really, really badly, they just don't fail. Although the batteries, if they're like got battery backup in them, the batteries might be dead, but that's a different story. Cartridges, every time. 18. Do you have any other hobbies, interests, or collections? Yes, I do. Collections, I have like CD collection, VHS movie collection, DVD and Blu-ray collection, a book collection, and a comic collection. Now you can find videos of all of those except the comics on my Benway's World channel. I keep meaning to do a video of my comic collection, but I haven't got round to it yet. Other hobbies? Well, there are hobbies that I used to have that I don't seem to do anymore. I used to go fishing. I haven't done it in years. I used to be into CB radio, but CB radio died. I suppose these days the only other thing I do is well, music. I used to make music quite a lot. I haven't done it in a while. I keep trying. I tinker. I've got a Roland MC303 and an electric guitar, and I keep, like, I'll get them out, I'll have a little fiddle around and fail to come up with anything worthwhile and put them away again. So the only other thing that I still do really on a regular basis is photography. I've got a Flickr account with some of my stuff on there. I'll link to it somewhere. Actually, I mean, there's a link to it on the front page of my channel. Check that out, or on the About page. Yeah, I do Flickr. I like photography. I enjoy it a lot. Okay, question 19. Favourite film, TV show, book, song. Favourite film is Blade Runner. Always. No questions asked, no doubt whatsoever, Blade Runner, and it has been for a very long time. Favourite TV show, well, that varies a lot. Twin Peaks, I mean, I guess I don't have one single favourite TV show. There are a few that have, like, stuck with me for years. Twin Peaks is always going to be a favourite. Breaking Bad is just truly fantastic. Thing that I'm watching, oh, Hemlock Grove I think is great, but it's not actually on the TV, is it? It's on Netflix. Doctor Who, love that. Walking Dead, love that. There are loads. What are we watching at the moment? Silent Witness, enjoy that. Loads of stuff like that. Battlestar Galactica was great. Babylon 5 was great, except for Series 5, and that's like the last series of Battlestar Galactica. They just ruined it. Yeah. Okay. Favourite book? Oh, well, I like sci-fi, if you're interested in my favourite genre. I do like sci-fi, but kind of not so much the classics, not your H.G. Wells, and not even your Arthur C. Clarke. So I like Robert Heinlein. Not so much Asimov, he was a bit wooden. And later Heinlein, anyway, the earlier stuff again was a bit wooden. But Greg Bear, fantastic. I mean, proper hard science fiction. Stuff like Eon and whatever. I mean, it's so long since I read any of this, but I just loved pretty much everything of his that I read. And my absolute favourite, though it's also sci-fi, though he does non-sci-fi as well, is Ian Banks, also known as Ian M. Banks when he's doing sci-fi. Fairly recently deceased. I was gutted when he died. I've read almost all of his stuff. I've got just a couple of books left to read. Favourite book would be by him, and it would be Accession. It was one of his culture novels. It's a sci-fi one. And it's not because the science fiction is mind-bogglingly brilliant, where Greg Bear's is. It's because he's hysterically funny, and it's very, very black humour. His sense of humour is twisted and sick, and I love it. It appeals to me greatly. So yeah, Accession by Ian M. Banks. Final question, number 20. I don't get asked this a lot, but I do find some people make assumptions about it that irk me, so I feel the need to answer this one to put things straight there. What are my politics? I vote Labour. I am very, very, very opposed to the kind of nonsense that this Tory government is pushing out in this country at the moment. I very much believe that to look after the welfare, there's a word, welfare, to look after the well-being of a country, you look after the people at the bottom, and the money moves up. The Tories look after the people at the top, and theoretically the money moves down, but it doesn't, because the people at the top keep their money and they hoard it. They keep it to themselves, and it does not trickle down. They've got so much of it, they don't need to spend it. They keep it and let it grow, and it goes nowhere. You look after the people at the bottom, make sure they've got enough. They will spend it and it moves up, like a plant. You know, the roots are at the bottom. If you cut off the top from the bottom and just water the leaves, it will die. So yeah, I lean to the left. I don't agree with everything the Labour Party stands for. They're very much a nanny state thing. I don't like that. They are very controlling. I don't like that. But they do at least have their hearts in the right place. They have compassion, which is something that the Tories have none of. And they're getting worse all the time, and they make me mad. I hear the lies and I see the propaganda. The media are so completely spouting propaganda that it makes me mad every time I see biased reporting. It aggravates me massively. That is my opinion. I am giving it here because people ask me my opinion. I don't care what yours is. I don't want you to tell me why I'm wrong. I'm not interested. You have your opinion and you're welcome to it, but if you want to spout it, do it on your channel, not in my comments. Yeah. Freedom of speech, you have it, just not here. Do it on your own channel. Anyway, that is my 20 questions, my 20 most frequently asked questions. If your question is here, you don't need to ask it in a For Friday Q&A. Hey! Okay, thank you for watching.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the thumbs up button. I upload videos daily, so go ahead and hit subscribe if you'd like to see more. To all those who've already subscribed, I'd just like to say a great big thank you.